give us your name, the name of your book that you entered, and where you are right now, like a city or a state or something like that.
Awesome. Well, my name is Ryan Pote. I entered my novel Starfish, which is an unpublished manuscript, and I currently live in Leonardtown, Maryland, with my wife and son.
Excellent. All right. Are you ready for the quick ones?
Now I'm ready.
All right. I'm going to mix the order up just in case, but name me three authors that influenced you.
Three authors. That's really easy. I mean, I grew up reading Clive Cussler, Louis L'Amour, and then Michael Crichton had a real big impact. So those three have really been the most impactful to me.
Wow. Big names, big names. At what age did you really start writing?
I started writing, I can tell you the exact day. It was February 3rd, 2020. So I was 34 years old.
Wow. That's still young for writers, 34.
Yep.
What's the one grammar issue you have really a lot of trouble with?
My first draft is like a freight train, so a lot of commas. So editing those out is always a thing. But I always messed up the word stared and starred. I always have two R's in there, and I always have to go through and fix that.
So the real name of the book is called Scared Fish.
Yeah, it might be
Okay.
called starred fish.
From your book, what is your favorite line, either in the narrative or the dialogue? Some line that you really think is your favorite.
That one's really, really hard for me to pin down. And I also wrote it a couple years ago. So it's honestly just a tick that one of my characters has. Felix Gray's he's the chief station at McMurdo, and he has this little tick whenever these seismic tremors are going on. He runs a mechanical tally and he clicks it. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I've met some people who've done that in the past for certain things, and that just resonated with me with that character. I loved it, and I don't care if anybody else does. That's the one thing when I read the book, it still makes me chuckle when he does that.
It does. Yeah, I enjoyed that too. I kind of looked forward to it. So you know that Dirk and Dana Cussler provide the money, the prize money. So what are you going to do with either your $500 or your $1,000 you get from Dirk and Dana Cussler?
um, Definitely buy something nice for my wife because she's had to put up with being my reader, and while I'm writing on the periphery, doing the extra duties and stuff for this unfruitful hobby that it's been so far.
And where are you going to place your trophy?
Oh, definitely in my office, right where I can see it while I'm writing, right next to all my fleet of Clive Cussler novels.
Why don't we dive into it again? The book is Starfish. I have to say I totally enjoyed it. I have to read a lot of books.
Thank you.
So I really enjoyed it. It is
Thank you for that.
action packed. It is world hanging in the balance type of stuff. It's a techno thriller. But let's discuss the location, because I think Antarctica is a place that not a lot of people go to, and the uneducated may think it's just a barren wasteland of ice and snow. Why did you pick that location?
Yeah, I kind of guessed that question was going to come up because it is kind of one of those random places. I'll start off by saying I personally have never been to Antarctica. I picked that location for two reasons, actually three. I wrote my first manuscript, and it was set, write what you know. It was set in the Amazon jungle, hunting drug cartels, things like that, and that was my previous life. So I wrote about that because I didn't have to really do much research. I was kind of already there. So for my second novel, I wanted to just start something right away, and I knew that if you want to do a series, it has to be the same but different. And I was thinking isolated and alone. That was kind of the theme of my protagonist Ethan Kane in the first manuscript. So I thought, Antarctica is the one place nobody really writes about, that I could do that. And then I took it as a challenge as a writer, that if I want to do this as a career, could I write about something somewhere that I've never really been and still pull it off? So I kind of took it as a dual challenge. I happened to know a doctor who was stationed down there for a year, and a bunch of C-17 pilots from my former career that had been down there quite a bit. So I had some resources to draw on. And then I just read a lot about it, and just really tried to pull it off. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it came off that way.
Well, it's pretty, yeah, very informative about not only that area, but what happens to humans when they're in that environment. So it was educative for those of us who have never been or studied it. Let me ask you
Me
about
too.
Ethan King, because yeah, because
Sure.
you brought up Ethan. Um, he has a past that we get glimpses of in this book, but unlike Jack Reacher, James Bond, and Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible, Ethan Kane, he's physically damaged and
Hmm.
he's somewhat emotionally damaged as well. Um, how, how did you decide, okay, I'm going to not make him like all these other superhero, you know, male leads?
Oh, it's interesting. When I so that the origin of his character kind of goes back to why I started writing, actually. um a little bit about my past. I was in a helicopter crash that ended my career, and I was injured pretty badly. I was in some other incidents that could have gone much worse. And I knew a friend of mine, in my squadron, who was burned fairly badly. So I kind of took my experiences when I was getting out of the service. I was dealing with a little bit of PTSD and I was having a hard time with it. And a doctor recommended that I write about my experiences. There was a lot that I did in Central South America that I couldn't really write about and share with the doctor. So I kind of just started naturally fictionalizing kind of my own emotions into it. And that was kind of the impetus for me starting to write. And I really loved it. And then I thought, if I'm going to create a character, I can put in this character a lot of the things that I have either personally experienced or kind of developed with this melding of experiences. So I thought a character who'd been through something that I could relate to and really draw out. And yeah, like all those other heroes, they're always larger than life. And I wanted that for my character. I love reading stories like that, with, like Dirk Pitt, just, larger than life characters. You want to read that. You don't want to read the real nitty gritty is never as exciting as.
Yeah.
So I wanted a character who had those kind of natural vulnerabilities, and that wasn't like some Superman that just kind of, he's a Superman in the sense that his determination is what drives him. And I felt like, even the average person reading it can really connect with the character, because what if you found yourself in this situation, in this place, and you're cut off and alone, and kind of forced into these kinds of things? What would you kind of do? He kind of is a bull in a china shop. Is kind of like how I view
Yeah.
him as a character.
Yeah, well, it definitely comes off that he was well researched. So to have to put a box around it, that's certainly true. Another thing that was really obvious is that this has a big technical element. It's not like
Yeah.
the techno drives everything that happens, but it's part of the environment. And how do you, as someone who obviously has some experience, and we won't ask you all your experience because you'll probably have to kill us, but you
No.
know, but how do you decide if the techno is enough or not enough or too much? How do you decide how to put a box around it?
That's interesting that you said that. So I kind of naturally do that in my writing process, because I know that I love to research and I love to learn and read. So I could easily get swept away by those things. So what I try and do when I'm writing my first draft is I do surface research. So I find what I need, and I get enough of it to know the shell, and I don't dive too deep into it when I'm writing that first draft, because otherwise I'll just dump on the page, and that forces me to try and find ways to explain things in a more digestible way. And then on my subsequent drafts, I can go back in and find the right places to really flesh out certain things, and we, with how the whole manuscript came together. So that's kind of how I've done that in all three. I'm into my fourth manuscript right now, and I've done that every time, and it seems to work out with friends and family and people who've read some of my stuff that works. So I'm happy that you said that, because I'm, anyone who tries to write things, especially things that they don't know a lot about, you can overdo it or underdo it. So
Yeah. People do cardboard villains a lot. I read a lot of books, a lot of cardboard villains, yet you were able to get a calm yet really nasty villain. Is it Lu Chen? Is that how you say it?
yeah.
He's calm, but he's not a nice guy.
No, yeah, I kind of just like villains like that, kind of that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of thing,
Yeah.
that they have that calm pond with that hard undercurrent, or that glassy ocean with that hard undercurrent. I think that everyone always tries to like humanize the villains and provide traits and things like that. I mean, sometimes people are just bad people, and how do you make those people interesting? And for me as a reader, I think it's always interesting to flip it on its head. You don't expect people to be like that, who are that, and it also kind of creates a little bit of mystery around them, I think, while I'm writing and reading it. So I just have fun with it.
You mentioned different manuscripts. Have any of those been published yet? The other books, or you're holding on to the whole pile? What are you doing?
No, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I said, I started writing, and it was like therapy for me, and I couldn't stop. And I didn't know what I was doing in the first one, and I finished, and I tried to, learn how to edit and do it. And I'm doing all this, with a little kid and a very busy, demanding job now. So I'm on the peripheries and trying to be as efficient with my time as possible. But I knew that I just got the bug to write. Like I'm sure you and every other person who's written more than one thing, right? That you just get, you have all these stories, like Louis L'Amour used to say, you have all these stories burning in your head that you got to get on paper. And that's just how I felt. And they just started coming out. And so I just, went right into the next manuscript and tried to get better. And then after that one, I went right into the next one, and I was kind of editing the other ones while I was working on the other ones. So I mean, it's kind of like, why would I do this to myself?
Yeah.
And no one knew I was doing this in my family, not even my wife, until I wrote the second one. My wife was like, "What are you doing?" And then I kind of was like, "Hey, I'm writing." And then she finally read it, and then she was like, "Okay, I think you got something going on here, so maybe just keep working on it." So now she's very much my number one supporter, and but like friends and the rest of the family and coworkers and things like that. No, nobody knows that I'm even doing this until I got the call that I'm a semifinalist. It's like, well, I might want to tell people now that I'm kind of doing this, but yeah. So I've been just writing and keep moving on and trying to get better at it. And then I've gone back because they're unpublished. I've gone back and rewritten the first one now. It's kind of becoming a problem. So
Yeah.
I mean, I've been rejected so many times too that it's like. I'm not giving up though. I get the rejection, and I try and find feedback and then go back and figure out what's wrong, if it's salvageable, and get better. With this manuscript, I really tried to do some different things and keep going. And that was one of the reasons why I entered in this competition, because it's so hard to find good feedback.
Yeah.
You can pay for feedback, but that really doesn't pan out a lot of the times. And when I saw that this competition provided feedback, I didn't even expect to advance this far. I was just hoping to get feedback from writers and people that could tell me what I'm doing wrong. So to make it this far is kind of like I'm like shocked and super excited at the same time, because I love what I've written. So for me, just sitting there reading it, so to hear that someone else has loved or enjoyed it or liked it is really just awesome.
Yeah. Well, there were about 12 people that read it and enjoyed it and liked it. That's how you got this far.
Yeah, that blows my mind.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, wait till you get my feedback. Maybe you'll have a different opinion.
Oh, okay. Hey,
I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding.
Hey, I'm the one who's unpublished here, so.